Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Bakes here, and thank you for joining me for day number 25 of my 31 Days of Horror. Today's movie is an indie film from the year 2014. It's one that I've only seen once before, so this was the second time viewing, and yeah, I added this one to the lineup for my 31 days just because it has been a little while since I watched it for that first time, and I just kind of wanted to see how my opinions on this one have differed over time because, yeah, a bit of time had passed. So today's movie is simply titled Eat, as I said, from the year 2014. The caption on the top of this says, "A story of a girl who finds herself, then eats herself." And that really pretty much is the gist for this movie, but I will expand on the plot a little bit further and then get into my thoughts of Eat from 2014. So in this movie, we follow our lead character named Novella, who is a struggling actress in her early 30s, and she's living in LA trying to find work. And I think she says at the start of this movie, like, she hasn't had a job or been hired for an acting job in like 3 years, and I can imagine that is a very long time. No commercials, no TV shows, modeling, like nothing like that. She's just been getting absolute donuts, and not only is like she really struggling for work, just the rest of her life isn't going too well either. She's having a rough time paying her rent because obviously she's not finding any work with acting and modeling and things like that. She's not having too good of luck with guys. This one girl that she really doesn't like is being a bitch to her at like auditions and whatever, and really like sneaking in on her roles and stuff like that. And then just in general, the rest of her life is a bit rocky and whatnot. But Novella has this habit of whenever she gets nervous, she eats herself, yeah, essentially. It starts off with small things, like, when you get like the little bits of skin by your fingernails and stuff, she's picking at that, but then as the movie goes on and things are just piling up more and more, she's just starting to take bigger and bigger chunks. So I guess in a way it's a cannibal movie, but yeah, it's got more so like self-mutilation going for it. So I'd like sort of describe this one as a psychological body horror, I guess. So yeah, that's pretty much the gist of Eat. Let's get into my thoughts of it. So with a story like this, I really don't think this movie ever pushes it as far as I feel like it should go. Like, I was reading some of the descriptions here or quotes on the back just before I started filming, and I'm going to read some of them to you. The gore is really gross, like really fucking gross is the top one there. Eat will affect you like few other films do is another one down there. I just really feel like this movie doesn't push it to as far as what you would expect this to be. Like, even from the first time watching this movie, I remember it not really hitting the heights that I feel like it should have, but returning to watch it this time around, like, it definitely didn't. I was like, I felt like a little bit underwhelmed. I really expected it to go a lot more disturbing and dark than what it unfortunately does. It doesn't really do much to leave an impact, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's just not as gory as you would expect. There is a lot of blood, but there's a difference between blood and gore. But considering how much of this is, like I said, self-mutilation and ripping off flesh and whatever, it just does nothing that's too wild, and I think honestly this movie's almost like a little bit too safe and tame. Story-wise, I feel like it's not as deep as what it kind of thinks it is. There are many moments in this that, are trying to be shocking, and like I said, I don't even think they really hit on how shocking they should be. But with that being said, like, they're just kind of there for the sake of being there. Like, they're shocking moments, but it's just kind of like, what was the point of that? I don't feel like it's really doing much for the story, to be honest. Kind of like, Novella is doing this thing. She explains, like, she starts biting herself whenever she's feeling nervous or whatever, but like, why is she biting herself when she's feeling nervous? It doesn't really go into the depths of that, and it sort of left me wanting a bit more on that front. The lead in this movie, she does a good job. I guess it's just more so how her character is written. She's very like nonchalant about things, and it almost comes across as if it's like meant to be like dark humor, but it like there's nothing really funny about it either. She's just like so nonchalant. Like there's this one part in the movie where she like eats half of her foot off, and then when she wakes up in the morning and comes to and realizes that she has eaten half of her foot off, she just sort of like sighs and carries on with her day. She's like, oh, well, that happened. There's a part in a movie where she's on a date with this guy and she's reminiscing about like nights prior where her and her friend almost got raped, and they had to like shoot these two guys, and she says it so casually like it was just her average Tuesday night, and it's just kind of like, is this meant to be like a dark comedy as well? It just doesn't really have much else humor in this movie, so like I don't know, that sort of just feels out of place. I don't know, what I take from this movie is that on paper there is something there, but it just feels like it underfires and leaves something to sort of be desired or answered, questions answered. Like, I understand she's eating herself because, she's nervous or she has anxieties and stuff, but like explain that in a little bit more depth and give me a bit more detail, because, I'm not quite satisfied with that answer. The movie's not unwatchable, the movie's fine and everything. And like I said, there are moments of like decent gore and there is a lot of blood, but I think there is just a lot to be desired with this movie. So getting to my rating, I guess I'll try and keep this one short. I'm going to give Eat from 2014 a 4 out of 10. Like, it is just a little bit underwhelming, and like the movie's fine, it's passable, it's not terrible, it's just kind of like, what was the point of that hour and a half? I just feel like it thought it had more with the story, and just didn't leave enough of an impact with a lot of the things going on in this film. So I'm just going to sort of leave it there. Thank you for joining me for today's review. I tried to keep it a little bit more short and sharp because, like I said, the movie is passable, it's fine, but just now that I've done watching it for the second time, I just feel like I haven't really gained much from this movie. It's fine, it's passable, but nothing to really write home about, unfortunately. But thank you for joining me for day number 25, guys. If you've seen Eat and have a different opinion on it, if you've sort of pulled more from the movie than what I have, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But thank you for joining me for today's review, and I'll see you tomorrow for day number 26.